Now we're sitting here, what's the forge? And obviously the CEO roundtable, you're going to meet private equity, you're going to meet the brokers, you're going to meet other business owners and things like that. But let's come back to the root of, 18 months ago, we said, hey, let's go launch a roofing platform. We'll call it a strategic equity company that is not your typical private equity, because those guys are bankers. They're family office money that is trying to deploy capital.
And it's not that we're, and I from my perspective, it's like we're not anti-private equity, because those guys are really smart.
They're smart.
They if you look at all of the biggest industries in the world, from the food you eat, the cars you drive, it's like they're all owned by private equity, right? It's like if you go up high enough, the biggest businesses are just big businesses of a bunch of small businesses, that have all came together. And so there's like this term that I hear all the time now. It seems to get tossed around the industry. It's like we're a fractured industry, but it's like, yeah, because private equity just hasn't made its way through yet. So it's like,
and so we started seeing consolidations in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and all of a sudden we go, the writing's on the wall, roofing's next. And as I watch these roofing companies, like you were on in the early phase of it, and then you see Linears and Lifetimes and all these companies start to go, right? And they go, let's gobble up the good companies and create what they call consolidation. So I see friends and clients and things like that, and I've obviously been in this for 9 years, and I go, oh, wow, this is happening. It's happening fast. It's not if it's happening, it's just which side of the happening are you on? Where in solar, it was not that. There's a few acquisitions here and there. Mm-hmm. With pest control, it was more sell the accounts, and now private equity is getting into pest control, where all the money is sitting on the sideline because it's scared to go into AI and tech, and it's like, we don't know what to do with this money, right? Money can't sit there. It's losing money every time it sits there, right?
Something that I think a lot of people don't know is probably interesting for whoever's watching this is something that one of you guys said earlier, where you guys were on the phone with a bank yesterday and they were like, we have all this money, we just need to put it somewhere. And it's like, they need to invest.
They have to. It's what keeps them going.
Yeah.
If they're not investing and making moves, they die, right? So they always are on the hunt for good companies, good platforms to invest in, to get behind and support. So it's always there.
There is 5,000 times more private equity companies today than there were 20 years ago. So it's not like, you're like, well, what does that even mean? And so the amount of private equity companies that have just come to fruition over the last 20 years is so abundant. What is missing? Good companies to buy. Yeah. Like what you just said.
Yeah.
So the problem is you have supply and demand issues. And so that also drives the multiples up. So you say, okay, the service industry is kind of arguably hard to disrupt with AI, right? It's like, they're not going to go and kill your bugs. They're not going to go and change the roof, right? Like, that's just going to happen. So we said, okay, cool. Where's the puck going? And then I just said, I've been 9 years coaching. You've been years coaching. And it's like, there's only so much you can do when you consult. So what we did not start as another coaching company. There's a lot of, and so make that super clear. This is not a coaching company. This is not a pay us 10 grand a month and we'll come and help consult you. We said, how about we actually partner with roofing companies? So we said, let's start a roofing platform. And we decided on that home service because we see it's the biggest opportunity in the home service space right now.
And outside of shooting guns in the military, it's all I've ever known. So it's
we know it super well. We know it super well. And we said, cool, we've consulted hundreds. I've probably in a couple hundreds too, in just roofing alone, let alone other home services. And we say, okay, how do we look at us? There's 5 of us really competent people. When you guys and us talked about this, you're like, we were going to do this on our own. I'm like, how much cooler is it when you don't have to do it on your own?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's also like, yeah, it is cooler, but it's also a lot of work to do on your own. It's like, yeah, whatever the old proverb is, it's like you can go further together, you know?
Yes.
What I mean? So it's like, what'd you say to me? We were at a roofing conference and you were like, does 1 + 1 = 3? Maybe it does. I don't know.
Well, that's the same thesis. If you're a roofing company listening to this, that's the question I would ask. And the reason I would say that thesis right away is because not just our resources and know-how, because when you arbitrage and EBITDA together, and the bigger the EBITDA in one systematic company, the bigger the multiple. So let's just explain that math, Josh. You're the finance guy. I'm a roofer. I'm doing $1 million of EBITDA. I'm a by myself. What does that mean? Versus
maybe 2, maybe 3, 4
3, yeah,
at the high end.
at the high end. And because these funds want to buy bigger companies that are already, they don't want to buy a bunch of $1 million EBITDA companies to put together. That's a lot of work. They want to buy the $100 million company or the 200 million, and up the chain to something that's on the stock market, And so as you go up that ladder, the higher the multiples are. And so it ends up being a win for companies that we bring together.
So we said 1 + 1 legitimate equals 3, despite the integration, service, growth, the sales engine, ops engine, finance engines that we're implementing. We were like, even if we didn't touch you, it's 1 + 1 = 3. And we realized this, and it is a lot of work.
And just to clarify that, it's like you all utilize the same example that you did, where you're like a company that's making $1 million a year. So it's like you mentioned might be worth 2, 3, 4. That means 2, 3, or 4 times that $1 million, meaning that you could potentially, depending on your risk, the risk inside the business, like key man risk or key client risk or all these different things. It's like you could walk away with $2 to $4 million. You might be worth your company. But what you're saying is like, together with a group, you may now be worth 6, 7, 8, 10x that $1 million, right?
100%.
Okay, just wanted to clarify because
Which is super important.
Yeah.
So we're like, guys, we're so much worth more together, but what gets in the way? And JD, you ran into this as you guys created Emerge. You're trying to have 2 CEOs. You're trying to have, is they're kind of doing due diligence. You see this as you go through 90% of the companies you turn down.
Yeah.
Why is it that somebody gets in the way of themselves, essentially, from actually making something like this happen? Either one of these.
Egos, human capital. How good is the CEO running the business or the president? If that guy steps away, does the business collapse? Is it all being held together by one person, or do they have some operations? Do they have some standard operating procedures that they can rely on, having a team of people that they've successfully implemented that gives the company structure, that they can hand off tasks? They're great at delegation. They're great at management. And that allows a bank to come in and say, okay, this platform has a little bit of risk kind of spread out across its departments. We can de-risk that at scale by going through an acquisition model or greenfielding into other markets. Without those things, and you are that guy that's like, okay, if I step away, the whole business falls apart. There's not a lot of value that's added to that, right? And so that's where that multiple of your business actually shrinks, versus you get everybody together and you de-risk that platform. You get some operational efficiency and some best practices actually through implementation. Your multiple is going to go up exponentially.
So we just started interviewing this guy. He came to my boot camp, 25 years in roofing, been doing it forever, 4.8 million last year. What do you think, like psychologically, JD, you talk to this guy, what's going on in his head? He's now 60 years old.
Yeah.
And those aren't the typical guys we're going for. We're actually going for the dogs that are younger, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you got another 5 years in the tank. Like, we're taking a different thesis to this than the baby boomer, but like, you've been doing it for 25 years. Like, you chose to sell.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden solar drops, roofing drop, right? Like, you sold at the peak, everybody else goes bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Why would somebody choose not to sell? And what's going through their head and fears and doubts, and when you were probably getting approached and things like that?
Well, I think the reason they don't sell typically is they're scared. What does it mean? Am I losing my company? Will I have control? Will I get paid? What does it look like? What are the terms? Will somebody come be my boss? Especially
The fear of the unknown.
Yeah, especially
Now you
somebody
just have a job.
right? And it's like my company that I started 20 years ago, right? They don't want to give that up. And so I understand that, but I also think you have to look at what are the outcomes if you continue as you're doing, right? Do you want to keep doing it? Are you on the way out mentally, physically? So you have to kind of weigh all of those and say, well, what does the next couple of years look like if I don't change? And is that actually riskier than making the change and making the sell? And so I think for us, it's pretty simple. Like, we love to talk to those kind of people, right? and basically, hey, help us understand, what does the next few years look like for you? Are you better with us or without us? Some may be better without, some may be better with, but let's have the conversation and figure that out. And then let's go through all the risks. You know, what we're doing is not a week-long decision where it's like, perfect, let's jump in and join. It's like, no, there's a lot of due diligence. We need to understand your quality of earnings. We need to understand your financials. We need to make sure you're the right fit, just as
You know
easy
that
as
most
us.
people in this industry have never heard terms like that.
What?
Well,
You were just
Due
thinking,
diligence.
yeah.
due diligence.
They've never heard it. Every company I talk to was like, "What's the quality of earnings?" And then private equity, when they come sit in your office and you're having these management meetings, they're like,
Your Q of E.
"Who's done your QV? Who's this?" Right? And then
You're like,
Dude, I barely do that, and you're like, "Who's?"
He's hot.
I've never even heard of this stuff, right? Like, so it's like there's a level of competency that they kind of come in at you with that you're like, they kind of take your confidence down a couple of notches from running your business of like, okay, maybe you don't know as much about your own company as you need to. And that's actually where your experience coaching people, actually working with $100+ million companies, you worked with my company for years, right? Helping people get over these speed bumps, running their own company, and learning some of these like accounting principles, what true accrual-based accounting looks like, things that that impacts their knowledge base, so that when they sit down and have these conversations, they're actually able to make educated decisions and create better outcomes for the company.
It's real similar to what I was saying earlier, where it's like when I was in my roofing company, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle, because it's like you're just so focused on, I can't even remember the topic at hand earlier, but you had said like, these guys are just so focused. We were talking about some of the
Working
founders
in the business versus on.
yeah, it's like the ops guy that just walked out of the office, or the sales guy that they need to hire, or somebody crashed a truck or whatever. It's like they're not even thinking about or it's hard to think about those types of things. So
I think that's the coolest thing with this group, is if there's somebody that's interested in selling their business, right? And they're like, hey man, in a year or two that could be on my play or on my radar. They actually, a lot of them don't know how to do it. Like, what does it even take? And by being part of Forge, we can have the conversations with the private equity, and we know all the questions they're going to ask for the most part. We know what they want, and we can pre-package that. And I'll never forget sitting in rooms, hearing those acronyms, and literally like kind of hiding my phone and all that, and not knowing. I've been there, right? And all of a sudden, I remember feeling dumb that like, I'm the CEO of this company and I don't know what they're saying right now. And I've had those moments, right? Like I empathize, I get it. Whereas now that you go through years later, fast forward, there was just a level of, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And then you learn it and you go through it. And now, we can sit in the rooms and we can talk and we can have those conversations. And that's where the multiple goes up and the value goes up, because we're playing the game at their level now. And we're not just one small company, right?
Remember, don't trust the gossip that you hear about transactions being done in the industry of like, oh, so-and-so got X multiple, like 10X, 12X, 11X, right? Like, don't trust.
I want that deal.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of this gossip takes place and people love to inflate that, right? They love to do that. And why? Because everybody wants to be the best. We were talking about when we started, like, the battle of egos in the industry, right? Well, we can say one of the best transactions that actually took place in the roofing industry was recently through a strategic acquisition with the best multiple that we've seen, that looked like it was going to be even lower on the term sheet, right? And so there's so many of these factors that are combined together that impact the end result that you don't even know about until you actually get to that table and money's in the bank, right? You could sign an LOI or hear about a deal at X multiple. However, that thing probably closed at half of it, right? And that's a common thing that's happened. Just don't believe all the gossip.
Well, JD, you were talking about sitting in the room and just like not understanding the acronyms. And it's like, it was the exact same for me when I was going through the acquisition. And it's like, I was almost in paralysis where like I was scared to look stupid and even ask the questions. Like I made a post the other day on social media talking about like if I was to go through it again, here's all the questions I would be asking, like about the acquisition and like how things are going to come to fruition and whatnot. And it's like, even though my deal could have been sweeter at the end of the day, it was like I was able to transform and like become a higher level business person from going through the acquisition.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think at the end of the day, it's like, that's really what it's about. It's like, who can you become, like, how can we up level your business acumen? It's like the deal can be good. You know, you can up level your network. You know, you join our group and you automatically have a nationwide network of like partners. And then, you just increase your business knowledge, your business acumen along the way. So it's like,
I just think it's doing something bigger. Like, I think the problem is most roofers, they set out to be like, I'm this nationwide, I'm going to be in all over the country. And I'm like, you aren't. Like, no offense. Like, you're still at 5 million. I saw you 5 years ago at the Win the Storm or whatever, you know what I mean? Congrats, you and your 3 friends. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, and I don't mean to like throw rocks at anyone. I just am like, the issue is why you're not growing is you're actually not putting yourself in an uncomfortable, different room and you're singing the same songs and no one's holding you accountable to the next version of what you were being. And if your business partner is supposed to be doing that for you and you know you and him, the issue is that's the level and the ceiling. And so until and I've hosted a mastermind for 9 years now, you know what I mean? We've done events all over. I was in Tampa on a yacht last week. And what I've realized is even that room, there's versions of that room. I've had certain people that are like last week, there was 150 million and 70 million, some big guys. And I almost felt embarrassed for them because they were the little guys. And I was like, they almost felt uncomfortable how good they were in front of some of the little guys. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, that's the mastermind. That's not a partnership. That's just a collective, cool community of content. And I love it. But it's not like Josh getting in the weeds with them every single week and being like, don't bullshit me. Like, what'd you do? You know what I mean? So like,
that's not what the scorecard says.
That's not what the scorecard. I don't lift up their hood and say like, what is your actual numbers? So when you dive into somebody's financials, Josh, and you start to track their scorecard, what are some of the main key points that you implement right away that you're like, hey, we need to get into this cadence to actually be a business that's paying attention?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's like just having the scorecard. That's going to be like, what?
Step one.
90% are probably or more not doing that. And then having a weekly cadence where you're actually looking at it. It's not just like a one-time thing that's happening. And so as simple as that is, it's difficult to implement when it's like, the truck just got wrecked, or the material was late on the job site. It's
I think it's so funny that we've gone. I asked you. I said, "What do you do to track on that?" And you're like, "Well, first started with spreadsheets, then we built this whole tech platform, and then we back to spreadsheets and only like 4 numbers." Yes. And even we do our executive meetings with our founders, guys. We have 8 companies currently that are in the platform. So this is an idea. This is like we already did over 60 million. We are trending to do close to 107 this year. And you look at like, we're already a 9-figure company, right? So what's interesting though, is even the companies that we have currently today, it is hard for them to update 4 numbers. Some of them are really good, but we're like, guys,
we're working on it. We're working on it.
It's 4 numbers. How do I find them? I'm like, well, how do you run your business? You know what I mean? So like, how does one...
A second ago, you had mentioned like, maybe even if you have a partner, they're supposed to be holding you accountable. But I read this article and it was written by Jeff Bezos. And I don't know, it was like a speech that he had given somewhere. And he was talking about how like the world... you have to be the thermostat that sets the temperature because the world always tries to bring you back to room temperature. You know what I mean? Because it's like your friends and family. It's like it's like when you start a diet, it's like they give you a hard time if you're like out, watching, you're out to
Didn't
eat.
get the bun.
Yeah, exactly.
Today.
Lettuce wrap.
Yeah, dude. Come on.
Yeah, got the lettuce wrap.
You guys fat shame me for getting the cheesecake?
Yeah, exactly that though. It's like, in all facets of our life, it's like everything tries to bring us back down to normalize with them so that they don't feel bad about themselves. There's a book called it's like The Coffee Bean or something. It's like you need to be... Have you read that?
Yeah.
Or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy that wrote it. But
John Gordon, he came to DDCon.
That's right. Yeah. And so he talks about like being the coffee bean. Like, you can put this one bean in a cup of water and it'll turn it into coffee. It's like you need to basically control your environment or be the one that makes the change within the environment. So I probably butchered that, but I think you.
No, I'm almost in tears. It was really good. It was really good. Okay, so we want to keep this simple, and we don't want to go super long on this. But anybody that's looking to sell their company, not just like tomorrow, but over the next 2-3 years, and you're like, maybe I can't do that alone, and you want to participate in maybe 2 or 3 times the actual value that you would get selling it by yourself, it might make sense to hit us up. So hit us up on Instagram, find out a way to reach us. We have Forge-Roofing, and we're going to be doing a really cool series of different interviews, understanding and lifting up the hood. But I want to wrap this. I think this would be an interesting wrap as I was thinking about putting this podcast together, of every time we get a guest, every time we, essentially bring somebody in, it's like the number one mistake the CEO would make that he never wanted to admit or has made. I'd be curious just to go and give a kind of a one quick answer, because we've all been in it, right? And nobody wants to talk about that. Like, I just went to Chicago and didn't have a good, strong agreement before I went out there and sold $2 million and got a middle finger after closing $2 million.
What did you even do for us?
And he says, what did you do for us? I'm like, I don't know, sold the 2.5. Well, why should I pay you? I should pay the reps only. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like, well, I thought I was smarter and I've done business long enough to know that was dumb. And I still did it because I was, urgent and I wanted to make it happen. That would be mine in the most recent. So fuck you, Matt Nelson. Good job. I don't use that word. If you know Nell Rock Contracting in Illinois, I don't say that word very often, but there are shitty people in the industry. Well, he is one of them. He just believes, hey, I should keep all of the money, not pay the salespeople, not pay us. So anyway, good job. That was not mine. Whatever. Go, your turn.
Scripted.
Yeah. No,
Scripted.
For me, I have a buddy, his name's Russ Perry. He runs a tech company out of Scottsdale and called Design Pickle, worth lots of money. They've raised capital multiple times. They've done, liquidity events. And he talks about this one thing called decision velocity. He wrote about this in his book. And it's all about how, essentially the highest level people in the world can make quick decisions and good decisions quickly. And every time I look back at even just not letting people go quick enough, or not severing parts of the business off when I knew I should have, and just letting decisions linger around. I'm currently going through some of those things right now with people in my organization. And it's man, you feel so much better when you just finally make it happen. You're like, why did I not do that 6 weeks ago? And so that's probably it for me. Decision velocity.
Love that.
Yeah.
Good. I would just say don't let your ego get in the way, because in all we're talking about, maybe you think you've built the best thing. In the next 5 years, you're going to build something 10x that. Maybe put your ego aside and come talk to us. It's not going to hurt you to come have a chat with us. And if it's a right fit, it's awesome. And you can join with us. And if it's not, we'll tell you that as well. And so,
Jake would love to tell you that.
Yeah.
Loved.
We love to.
Loved.
Mine was super easy. Didn't even have to think about it. Financial accountability as CEO, right? 99% of the time you're at the top and you're like, oh, I'm paying people. I've got these expensive salaries. I'm paying everybody. Everybody's got benefits from this, right? And, at the end of the day, you're still 100% responsible for the entire business, right? You have to know what GAAP compliance is. You have to know what your forecasts are. You have to know all of your chart of accounts. You might not be a CFO. You might not have gone to school for accounting, but it is 100% your responsibility to learn every cost and expense that's ran through your business.
But it's so easy to just ignore it.
Oh, it is, right? When you're making plenty of money and you're like, oh, life's good, the last thing that you want to do is always be in the weeds and spreadsheets. However, the biggest mistake that I ever made was not being in the weeds and the
Especially when
spreadsheets.
you're making money.
Yes.
Yes, that's the time.
Right. like you talk about all these books and all these things, right? Like I've read them too. I'm sitting here like, God, what haven't I not read, right? I'm like, clearly I missed the part on accounting in every one of the books on how these guys got so rich, right?
It's so true though.
Yes, and once you
Well,
take
the ones
full
writing the books
accountability-
aren't accountants. They're the visionaries. That's the thing, though.
Everybody read the book written by the CPA.
That book on accounting was sure exciting.
But
Set
there's
up a
that,
chart
there's that
account.
saying, though. It's like you can lie about the numbers, but the numbers don't lie about the person.
It's so true.
And as the CEO, your company's numbers are you,
No.
right? And so there's a level of accountability that has got to come with that, and it's got to flow down throughout the rest of your organization. So
Big up.
Wait, do I need to put my foot like this? I feel like you guys were all. We were all.
Here we go. I'll tell you.
opposite of Sam.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good ones. The word that came to my mind was clarity. I think as a CEO, you have to be extremely clear on everything about the business. If it's ambiguous and they don't know, that's when ideas start to become problems. Well, maybe this or maybe that. And I think when you have good decision making and it's fast and it's clear, people can get on, right? They can get on board with that and be like, you know what? Okay, I got it. I understand why we're doing this. And there's a quote that I love, and it's amateurs talk about strategy, professionals implement logistics, right? It's like we can talk and all these things, but no, like let's move and adapt while we're moving versus just talking. Like we have to move, but we have to move with good decision making and clarity together, right? We make a decision. If it's wrong, we pivot quick, but we're clear and everybody knows what the mission is and why we're doing it. And if they don't know why, it's like, here's how we're going to do it, but why, right? And I just feel like as leadership, when there's good, solid clarity, people get behind you, they understand it. And it really actually resolves a lot of the problems because they're clear. This is why we're doing it, not what's going on, right? In the confusion. So for me, at times I wish I would have been more decisive and more clear, especially during wartime stuff. Being a peacetime CEO is easy. Like when you're making money, everyone's patting your back. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
Wartime CEOs, every dollar. I mean, if you can be tight when you're making money and it translates over through the ebbs and the flows, you're in a good spot.
Well, I think that, we brought in an outside consultant and it was like he talked about a framework and it was like create clarity, communicate clarity, over communicate the clarity. And I think it goes back to your concept of like, and we were drawing on a whiteboard for the last like 4 hours, guys, just so you know. And JD at the end of it, he's like, so I still don't know what we do. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? And, like, to us, like visionaries, a lot of times that CEO gets stuck in this idea game and all of their employees are like, yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't mean we had to implement and do all this shit. We were just ideating. But I think a lot of times we ideate with our people, which actually creates more confusion instead of just, here's what I need you to do.
Yep.
Like command versus ideate. And I tend to like the validation and want their feedback and I want to enroll them.
But then later on, are you like, dude, why did they cheer me on for this?
Yeah.
Like, because I wish you guys would have
just
been.
said, we're not all doing this. Like, great idea. That means we all have to do that shit and none of us want to do it. And you're like, well, then you should have said that. I was just trying to spitball fun stuff.
Sam, you were so excited about it.
Yeah, because I don't want to get fired. You're 5 Red Bulls deep. We were just vibe-boarding that shit for a second. That's my creative outlet. I didn't mean do it. So I think that's the point, though. It's like, what is it that I'm just like, those are all fun ideas. You don't have to run with every one of them. But like, when you say clarity, it's kind of like more so not what we do, but more so what we don't do, I think is another piece.
The institutional confidence of when to implement and how.
Yes.
And how many of those things can you actually get done in a year?
Yep.
And not overloading your people with tasks they can't do.
Yeah. And I think I'll speak for me. I'm not going to speak for you guys. Guilty. So, confession of a CEO right there. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys get some value out of this series. Hit subscribe. And I want you to share this with a business owner today. Because we're going to be launching a few episodes here and you're going to see some real meat and potato stuff. Because I think there's the element of, this raw essence that you're going to hear from us. one of the things we really want to bring is some authenticity of what is it really like being a CEO. And anybody listening to this that's a sales guy, maybe you get a little under the hood. If that's you, that's cool, but more so geared towards running companies and really catering it in the home service space. So hit subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next CEO Roundtable episode, and we out here.